Hello, everybody. This is Spencer again. I know it's been a while, but back with another Magic the Gathering deck tech. This one is for modern, and this is my favorite modern deck right now. This is Naya Burn. This isn't like any budget or weird brew. This is just straight up the the deck list of the number 3 deck played in modern. So let's get right into it. This deck plays 12 creatures, and every card in this deck, besides a land, is a playset. So I'm just gonna go over each card individually and go through this real quick, and then we'll move on to the sideboard. So this is probably gonna be a shorter video. So first of all, starting off, this is the one of the best burn or even just aggressive red drops in the format. This is Goblin Guide. It's 1 red mana for 2/2 with haste. And when it attacks, the defending player reveals the top card of his or her library, and if it's a land, they put it into their hand. So this ability can be good or bad. If you're playing against Tron, it's sort of bad because it helps them assemble Tron faster. But against most other matchups, you don't really care if they're drawing a bunch of lands or not. And I mean, sometimes when you don't hit a land, it's nice to know what's coming up so that you don't play into like a Pyroclasm or something, or maybe they have like a Chalice and you know that you need to cast a bunch of spells so that you don't have a bunch of cards you can't cast in your hand. So he's really good. We've got a playset of him, and he is the best one drop in this deck. But the other one drop in this deck, which is also very good, is Monastery Swiftspear. This is a 1 mana 1/2 with haste and prowess. So when it comes out, it only attacks for 1, unlike Goblin Guy, which attacks for 2. But the next turn, if you're not casting an Eidolon, and you're casting maybe like a Lightning Bolt and a Lava Spike, or maybe just a Atarka's Command or Boros Charm or something like that, this has prowess, so it gets an additional +1/+1. So this is very, very good when you're casting a bunch of spells in the same turn, because these can get out of control very fast. They can become 4/5s, 5/6s, so on and so forth. And this isn't like the Zoo deck where you play mutagenic growths and stuff to pump them up a lot. This is just like a straight up burn list, so we can't really take advantage of 0 cost spells, but I tried them out in this deck for a while, and it just, burn spells were better. So we have, again, 4 copies of Monastery Swiftspear, and this is the last creature in the deck. This is Eidolon of the Great Revel. This is a 2 mana 2/2 enchantment creature. And whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost 3 or less, it deals 2 damage to that player. So this card is good against so many decks in the format. This card can just shut off decks entirely. Against other burn decks or other aggressive decks, if you land this, they have to deal with it, or else they just aren't going to be able to play enough creatures, do enough burn spells to kill you before you kill them. I know it also deals 2 damage to you, but usually keeping your opponent off playing their spells or making them think about what they can do is much, much better than you taking the 2 or 4 damage that it'll deal you. This card can just win games by itself. I mean, it is only a 2 mana 2/2, it doesn't have haste or anything, but it can make people have to pay for their spells. So it's good against Tron when they're playing all their little 1 and 2 mana searching artifacts, and it taxes them for trying to find their Tron lands. And also it taxes them on their Pyroclasms and stuff. Against decks like Grixis, pretty much every card in their deck besides Tasker and Grimag Angler is 3 mana or under, so this just destroys them. And it's good against just most decks in the format. When this card was in Standard, it was really good, because there was a lot of converted mana cost 3 or less cards in Standard. And so that's why we got a playset of them. They're very strong. So now, the first burn spell in the deck. We have 4 Lightning Bolts. I mean, you can't get much better than 1 mana, 3 damage. Hits creatures, hits players, hits planeswalkers. It's just good in every situation. We've got 4 of those. They're kind of mismatched, but whatever. Now this one, This, I think, is the best one-drop spell in the deck. This is Lava Spike. It's just 3 damage to target player. And this is so good when your opponents bring in Spellskite, because they might think that they're safe behind their Spellskite, but then you either have Lava Spike, which gets through Spellskite because it's the target player and Spellskite is a creature, not a player, or when you have Boros Charm. Those two cards, I think, are some of the best in the deck because they get around Spellskite and they just are efficiently costed. 1 mana 3 damage or 2 mana 4 damage. And you'll see that the card I'm talking about very soon. So we have, again, 4 Lava Spikes. Rift Bolt. Now this is a 1-drop. If you're casting it for 3, you're either going off the top deck mode and you just need that last 3 points of damage, or you're far behind and you're trying to deal with what they're doing. But usually, this is either going down turn 1 if you get the all burn spell hand, or this is going down turn 2 or 3 after you've played your 1-drop creature. What's cool about this is when you suspend it, that's not casting it, so you don't get your prowess triggers, but the turn that it comes into play, which is the turn after you suspend it, that is when it gets cast, so that's when you either get your Eidolon trigger and it deals 2 damage to you, or you get your prowess trigger. So that's important to know. And also, it's important to know that there is a Eldrazi deck running around that processes cards, it puts them from exile into the graveyard. If you put a Rift Bolt into exile, they can put it into your graveyard, and you don't even get to use it. So just beware of that if you're playing this deck and you know that this is mostly for people in Magic Online. I haven't seen too many Eldrazi decks IRL, but when you suspend your Rift Bolt, they could possibly counter it with any of their Eldrazi creatures that process stuff. But that's not important. It's 1 mana, 3 damage. The turn after you cast it, it's really good. And we have, again, a playset, and it targets creatures or players. Alright, now this one is my least favorite burn spell in the deck. This is Searing Blaze. It's double red, and you're usually doing it for your landfall, so I'm just going to read that. Double red. If you had a land enter the battlefield this turn, it deals 3 damage to target player, and then 3 damage to a creature they control. So it's very good. It's a very good spell. It's a removal spell and a burn spell. It's just a lightning bolt to a creature and a player if you had a land, and we're playing 9 fetch lands, so it's very, very good. So you can reliably get your land drops. You're usually playing this, I've found you're usually playing this in your main phase, but that doesn't matter. If you do it at instant speed with a fetch land, that's still pretty good. Now here's the whole reason you're in green, besides maybe sideboard cards that I don't have. Atarka's Command. Standard All-Star, Modern All-Star. It's just so good. It's a red and a green, and you can choose 2. Either your opponents can't gain life, it deals 3 damage to each opponent, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, or creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain reach until end of turn. So, this card is very good. It's either a Skullcrack, or a Lava Spike and an Anthem. You're usually not doing it for the land. I've never cast it on land mode, but usually it's a Lava Spike and an Anthem or a Skullcrack. And both of those are very good. Like, when you have the creature draw and then you draw this and you have like Monastery Swiftspear, Goblin Guide in play, prowess triggers. You deal 3 damage to them, and they all got +1/+1. Very solid card. It's very efficient. It does a lot in the deck. And again, we've got 4 of them because, again, it's very good. Oh, and this also gets around Spellskite. So here, Boros Charm. The best 2-drop spell in the deck. Boros colors, red and white. You can choose one. It deals 4 damage to target player, or permanents you control are indestructible this turn, or target creature gains double strike until end of turn. This card just does so much. Say your opponent casts Pyroclasm, you respond by Boros Charming. All your creatures gain indestructible. You just countered that spell, and you're probably going to win that game. Or, in its most common mode, you're just dealing 4 damage to them, because why the hell not? I mean, it's really, really good. It's 1 more mana for 1 more damage. And red and white are the easiest colors to get in this deck, so it's pretty good. And again, 4 of those. So, last spell, I'm pretty sure, is Lightning Helix. It's a red and a white, deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 3 life. This card is in here and not in the sideboard because in my meta, there's a lot of Affinity and Infect and Zoo. And this card is very good against those decks because you deal with one of their creatures and you get a little life, and it's a pretty good tempo card because you're gaining life, they don't want you to do that, but you're also dealing damage. And even as a burn spell, 2 mana, 3 damage, 3 life, it's still really good. It allows you to not care about what they're doing as much and just worry about burning them out and trying to find the fastest way to 20, which is pretty much what this deck does. So then we've got a play set of those, and now we are onto the lands. So you've got a play set of Wooded Foothills because primarily you want to be able to get your forests, and you want to be able to get Stomping Grounds and Sacred Foundries and basic mountains with this. And this does everything. This gets all of our colors, so that's why we have a play set. And then we have 3 Arid Mesa, because this can also grab all our colors, but it's also pretty expensive. These are like 45 each, so that's why there's only 3. But I mean, you don't even need 4 really. That's why Wooded Foothills is here. They pretty much do the same thing. And then we have Bloodstained Mire. This can also get all of our colors. And this is just another fetch land. I mean, this could really be any red fetch land. This could be Scalding Tarn. This could be just anything. And so now on to our actual lands that produce mana. There's not many of those in this deck. We've got 2 Stomping Grounds, because we only have the 1 green card in our deck. And this can also be fetched by any of our fetch lands. Then we have 3 Sacred Foundry, because red and white is the main colors of the deck. Oh, sorry about this one. It's a little bit messed up. And then we have just a couple basic mountains, because Blood Moon is a card. I mean, it doesn't do much, but our white and green spells are pretty good, and we don't want those to get disrupted. So that was the main board. So let's move on to the sideboard. Here we have Path to Exile. Best white removal spell in the format. 1 mana, exile a creature, they get a land, who cares? You're taking care of a Tarmogoyf, or stopping a Splinter Twin combo, or you're killing a Batterskull, or Wormcoil Engine if you're playing against Tron. It's just an amazing card. So that's why we have got a few of those. Now, Stony Silence. There are quite a few affinity decks at my card store. And this card is pretty much 2 mana. You win the game in 2 turns. Because if they don't draw their like 2 spells that bounces to your hand or destroy it, they're done. They can't win. None of their artifacts do anything. They can't activate Modular. They can't activate Darksteel Citadels or any type of lands. Or any artifact lands or any artifacts in general. So they may have a few 1/1s, but who cares? You're going to be burning them out and playing better creatures. And it's just a very good card. So we've got a few of those. Smash to Smithereens. Same reason Stony Silence is in here. Destroys an artifact and its burn spell. It's really good. Skullcrack. This is very good against Feed the Clans from the green decks and Thragtusk. It's also good against Wormcoil Engines if you don't have a way to really deal with them. You can just make it so that the lifelink doesn't happen. It's just a very good card. And it's also a burn spell. To a player, too, so it gets around Spellskite. Rest in Peace. For all your Delver slash Living End slash Dredge decks. It's really good. So we've got 2 copies of that. Wear and Tear. Probably the weakest card in my sideboard, but it's still pretty good. You can bring it in against Affinity, destroys artifacts. You can bring it in against Twin, it destroys enchantments. It's very good, so we got 2 copies of that. Branding Volley. This is your anti-twin, anti-control card. It stops Celestial Colonnade. It stops Restoration Angel. It stops Splinter Twin. It can't be countered by spells or abilities. It's just a solid card. So we've got 3 of those in here. Probably going to go up to 4, take out some wear and tears. But this is one of the most versatile cards in the sideboard. Besides Path, this is my favorite card in the sideboard because it just does so much. It stops control decks. It stops combo decks. It can just stop fair decks. I mean, this is really good against a lot of things. Like, say they're like playing just like a green-white beatdown or green-white midrange or like Abzan. This kills Loxodon Smiters. This kills Wiltleaf Lieges. It just does so much. So that's why I enjoyed this card a lot. I'm glad it was printed. And, I mean, the art's pretty sweet, too. I mean, look at that dragon. It's just getting wrecked by those arrows or whatever that's impaling them from the sky. Yeah. But, so that was the deck and the sideboard. So tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me any changes I should make or any other things I should do to improve. Maybe, like, some different burn spells or anything, because again, I'm only one person. I don't know everything, so y'all probably know something that I don't, and I'd like to hear. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And this has been Spencer. I'll see y'all later.